Test. Hey guys, this is Bruce. Welcome to another podcast. And this one, unscripted. I'm just taking questions. That's it. This one's 100% about your questions. Before I get started, you should know I have a free, for a limited time, free cyber law and FISMA book bundle. So if you're interested in that, you can go on ConvoCourses.net, link in description, link in bio. Go ahead and check that out. It'll be the first book on the top. I do this all the time, about once every month or so. I'll have another book that comes out, or every 2 months or so. I have a book that comes out, and as a promotion, I give it out for free for about 5 days. That's what KDB allows us to do. Or I'll give a discounted price, and right now it's available for a limited time, only for the next couple days. So go ahead and check it out. What I'm looking for is reviews. Reviews. Your review is better than money. So go ahead and hook that up, and I'll continue to put out these free books, free for a limited time. And if you're really interested in doing book reviews and you like to do it, you're a book reader, you're an avid book reader, you love to do audio books, then you might want to join my advanced readers list. So we'll come out with books. Some are written by myself, some are written by my group, and we put out the book, and then we'll make it into an actual audio book or an ebook that you can get. And if you are interested in doing this on a regular basis, join that group. Again, link in description, link in bio. You'll see access to that advanced readers group, and that's how you get access to all my stuff early. Not just the stuff that you see on these lives. All right, that's it. Let's get into this. I'm going to answer some questions. This is 100% about you guys. Without you guys, I would not have content. My content is based 100% off of the questions that I get, off of people who want to know certain things. The thing is, there's no stupid questions. Any question that you have, it usually pertains to hundreds of other people who are going to see this live over the course of 3-4 years. And so any question that you have whatsoever, it's a good question, because many, many people are interested in what you are asking the same questions, right? So let me see. Got people watching me on TikTok. If you didn't watch my live last week, I was doing like a walkthrough of how I use ChatGPT and other large language models. It's a really great power tool. Don't be afraid of it. It's really something that's going to be embraced, or is actually being embraced right now by all your major players, your Google, your Microsoft, your Amazon. All of them are embracing it. So it's going to be a part of our regular life very soon. So you as an IT person should embrace it yourself and get to learn it. Somebody said, how do I get a free copy of your book? So the book is free on Amazon. So what you're going to do is you're going to go on my link in description, link in bio, and then you're going to click on that link. It's going to take you to the book. You're going to go to the one that says $0, and that's the one that's on KDP. You'll have access to it there. It's a book bundle. It's actually 2 books in one. If you look at it, if you've been following me for some time, it's actually 2 books that I've already written that they allow me to put them together and then re-release it as a big book bundle. So that's why I do that. So go ahead and get in there, read the book, go through it, see if you want to buy it. And if nothing else, go ahead and give me a review. 5-star review will be great. And then put some comments in there about how awesome I am. It helps me out. It helps me out. So that's not going to cost you anything. So go ahead and check it out. Link in description, link in bio. If you go to the link ConvoCourses.net, the very first link, you'll see a bunch of books and stuff I've released over time. But that first book is free. And that's the one you go to, click that link, and it'll take you, you'll have access to a 2-book bundle that talks about cyber law. And what I've done is my group, we put some of the most important things you need to know as a information security professional. And it's just some laws. We break them down in simple terms. It's not in lawyer speak. It's not in legislative speak. It's just, this is what you need to know. Next. This is what you need to know. Next. And that's how it does it. It goes through, and if you know that stuff, it's really foundational for you knowing GRC type stuff. I'm focusing on the stuff that you really need to know. I'm not going off on the deep end on some of this other stuff. And you guys are my audience. I'm not talking to lawyers. I'm not talking to people who are in academia. I'm talking to people who do this or who want to do this professionally. So that's my that's my audience, and that's who I'm speaking to in those books. So go ahead and check it out, free for a limited time only. Leave a review. It really helps me out. It's better than money, to be honest with you. So go ahead and check that out. In the meantime, let's answer some actual questions here. Let's see. I'm on TikTok here. Let me see if there's any questions I need to answer. Any question right now. It's open topics. Completely open topics. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Let me see. Immature Funketeer. He says, I got you, man. I appreciate all of your help and support. Hey, thank you so much, man. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, without you guys following me, I really wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't have topics. I wouldn't even know that people were interested in this stuff to begin with. So, I mean, it's something I knew that I wanted to know when I was first coming up doing IT, especially GRC stuff, information security stuff. I just didn't know if anybody was interested. I wrote some blog many years ago, and the blog like went viral. People knew me from the blog where I was talking about this random stuff that I thought that I wish somebody would have told me, and I put it out there, and it just blew up. And it's kind of evolved into what you see today. And people keep asking me. As long as people are interested, as long as people keep consuming the stuff that I create, I will keep creating it. So thank you so much. Jay Barnes, man, that sounds familiar. That's a familiar name. Is this D. James Barnes? Jay Barnes, the one I knew from the other channel. How you doing, man? Long time no see. All right, let's see here. Let me see here. Any question whatsoever, guys? It's open topics. Completely open topics. I don't have anything scheduled. I haven't planned anything. It's completely off the cuff, completely off the top of my head. I'm gonna give you real experience, my real experience on this field. I'm gonna answer honestly. If you ask me a question, you're asking it from somebody who's in this field. I've been doing this for over 20 years. All aspects of cybersecurity I've touched in some way, shape, or form, and so I can give you my 2 cents on whether you want to get into this. If this is something that's for you, I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to be very honest with you. Somebody said, how do you create an efficient policy campaign for an organization to accomplish awareness? How do you create an effective policy campaign for an organization to accomplish awareness? This is a great question. This is a person right here who's in this field, because that question would only come from somebody who knows what's up. So let me give context. So in governance, risk, and compliance, other names for this is just cybersecurity. It could be a GRC specialist. I've heard it called an information system security officer. I've heard it called an information system security manager. What we do in information security is we manage the risk level, the cybersecurity risk level, and the posture of an organization. This includes banks. This includes healthcare organizations. This includes governments of all types, from federal all the way down to provincial. All of this is very, very important. And as we move more in the direction of an information age and everything being online, it becomes even more and more important. That's why this job is in such demand right now, and they pay very well because it's very needed. So what Apple in the A is asking is one of the most crucial parts of any organization, and that's the security policy. A policy is a breakdown of all of the things an organization must do to attain a security posture, any kind of security whatsoever on the as an organization. So they're looking at the big picture. So typically, policies are very generic in that they have to cover a lot of ground, because that same security policy not only is going to address the IT infrastructure, the information technology, all the computers and the servers and the routers and whatever, but it's also going to be It's also going to cover things like the HR department, the human relations, where they have computers, right? It's going to also cover the people who pay you. It's going to cover if you have a legal team, it's going to cover them too. It's going to cover users. It's going to cover privileged users, regular users, operators. It's going to cover the CIO. You get the idea. It covers everyone. So the language in that document has to be generic enough to cover all those bases. So they're going to cover things like, here's the scope of of what we're going to talk about in this document. Here are the authorities that we're going to talk about. And then it's going to break down the security from a high level, what we do as an organization. Here's how we manage our access management. Like whenever somebody gets an account, here's how we do it. And it's very generic. It's not usually going to talk about what vendors we use or whether we use Active Directory or anything like that. It's just going to say, here's how we do it. And then move on to the next subject. And it's going to go into things like event manager. It might go into that. It might also briefly touch on physical security. It's very high level. And if there's something that's more specific, it'll refer you. There'll be other documents that go into further detail. And those are usually they can be called plans or procedures or whatever, right? They can be called work instructions, whatever. There are other documents, but we're talking about policy. So what he's asking is, how do you distribute that? Everyone must know what we're doing as an organization. In other words, it has to go to the users. It has to go to the CIO. It has to go to the CISO. It might even have to go to clients in some cases, your security policy. How do you distribute this? What is the best way to do it? Well, I can tell you from being in the government, in the public sector, from being in the private sector, I can tell you how it's being done and like the more effective ways I've seen it being done. Usually, number one, they do have some kind of document that is created into a PDF and they'll send it out to all the main players, like your managers, your CIO. They'll get like a copy of it and they'll distribute it. And I've seen other organizations just distribute it to everyone, right? And that's one way to do it. But another thing I've seen, and one of the most effective things, is they'll have all the most important pieces of that policy right in the user agreement. Right whenever a new employee comes in, if you've ever noticed, whenever you go to a new organization, they'll give you something that looks like a policy. It'll break down, here's what you will do, here's what you cannot do, right? Here's what will happen to you if you do X, Y, and Z. They'll usually break it down. It'll usually be in the user rights. So that's one place that they do it. They'll have a set of rules for users, and they'll have you read it, and then you have to sign it. And right there, that's a blanket one that hits everyone. Anyone coming in will have to sign that they have read the policy in some way, shape, or form. It might not go into great detail, but it'll usually have a link going to a more robust version of the security policy. It'll kind of be similar to what you have in your user agreements whenever you sign up for a policy with your Apple device, or whenever you go to Google and they're saying, okay, in order to have a Gmail account, read the fine print. Here's the legal documentation of policy and privacy and all that kind of stuff. It'll kind of be like that when you first come in. So that's two ways that I've seen organizations distribute a policy. Just writing it and then just literally emailing it to everyone. And another one is like whenever new users come in, they'll have you sign the user agreement. That's two ways. Another one of the more common ways is to integrate it into the actual security awareness program. A security awareness program is once a year, all users without exception will have to take making sure that everybody is on the same page with cybersecurity. And it's usually pretty basic. It's like, okay, what do you do if you get a phishing email? What do you do if somebody tries to come into the building and they don't have a badge? What basic stuff. That stuff is in the cybersecurity policy. It's really essential stuff that you will see in a security policy. And every year they're advertising all of the tenets of that cybersecurity policy in your training, regular training. So that's a few ways that I've seen it put out there in a very effective way. I'm thinking of all the privacy when I was in the private sector, like what would they do? I can tell you one of the great failings of organizations that I've seen is when they don't distribute it properly. When they don't put it out, when they neglect to do that, that usually becomes a problem because users are very, very ignorant, or they're they feign ignorance. They pretend they don't know. They know better, but they'll just do things so that they think they can get away with it. And that usually is because the organization is not pushing the policy hard enough. So it's a great feeling. Other ways I've seen it push is that they'll just mandate that everybody reads it once a year. I've seen that before too. And in the private sector and the public sector, they'll just send out a link and say, everybody must read this. Let us know when you've read it. So those are a few ways that organizations accomplish awareness and put it out there in different ways. They also have posters and stuff that will hit different tenets of the policy and things like that. But thanks for that question, Apple in the A. James says, how do you manage? And hey, David, I'm not skipping your question, by the way. Now I'm gonna come to it, but I was talking to James first. Let me see. James says, how do you manage policy and controls across multiple applications and entities for a single organization? Manage compliance and controls across multiple applications and entities for a single organization. I've seen it done in ways. I'll give you a specific example. When I was in the private sector, we would do cybersecurity. I was a cybersecurity consultant, and we would work for different clients. And a couple clients had a very difficult case where they were like, there'll be a hospital that also processes credit cards, for example. So that means they got to do two different things. Like you have, not only do you have multiple applications, but you have different needs for different clients and customers. You know what I mean? So you've got to protect credit card information, and then you also have to protect patient information. That's two different things. So one thing they would do is have two different frameworks that they'd have to abide by. So you have, for the patients, you'd have to have HIPAA, and you'd have to hit all the marks with HIPAA. And then with the taking credit cards, you have to have PCI compliance. So they'd have two sets of frameworks that have two sets of controls. And in some cases, those controls will align, such as like auditing, like event logs and stuff. Most frameworks have those things. Like they have something that covers event logs. They have something that controls that cover access management or physical control, right? Some of those are given and they line up. But then you have like specialized controls that might only be necessary for a point of sale device. Because a point of sale device, the register, whenever you go to your favorite retail store or wherever, whenever you're using a credit card, that is a computer, or it is a device connected to a computer. And so there's a special set of controls that might be relevant to that set of systems that are not necessarily relevant to these healthcare medical devices. They'll have two different things going on. So on the point of sale devices, you might have one of them off the top of my head is that they have to have a separate network. There has to be a separate subnet on a separate network that's not touching things like the Wi-Fi guest network or something like that. It would be something like that, just to give you one example of a control that would be relevant to this other group of systems. They would separate the systems out and say, okay, this boundary has this set of controls and this boundary has this set of controls. One thing that's very common to do this when you have separate multiple applications is to separate them by boundary. So most organizations do this, from the federal government to state government it's just a common best practice. That is not, until you get into this field, it's not something that comes up, right? But it's very, very common when you get in this space. They'll separate into different boundaries, and they'll say this system is called X. In our example of the healthcare organization that also has point of sale devices, they would call those two different boundaries, and they'd have different names for them. So in the point of sale boundary, you might call it a POS, the POS, point of sale A network, and then they would all refer to it in the organization. Everybody would be, hey, did you make sure that we ran the scans on the POSA account or the POSA boundary, right? And then that they know that that's separate from the medical one boundary. They'll separate them into two different boundaries, and both of those will have two different levels of security posture. They'll have two different levels of risk and two different levels, because one might have some exposure to a DMZ, or they might even have a website that's facing the world, the internet, and one might not have any of that because it has to be more secure, so it's internal and it's protected by multiple other layers of firewalls and stuff. So have two different. So that's normally how they handle it, and this is really common actually. In every organization I've been in, they do that, and they might have different compliance measures, different controls, and they're treated completely very, very different. Okay, let me see if I have any questions on TikTok. Let me see here. And if you're joining me late and you're trying to get that book right now for a limited time for the next couple days, I'm looking for reviews, to be honest with you. That's why I give it out for free. Don't think that I'm just, I'm trying to get reviews. So if you can go on, click that link in the bio in below. If you happen to be watching me on Facebook or YouTube, go there, leave me a little, open the book up, check it out if you're interested in it, and then leave a review, a 5-star review or whatever. And then, the book is awesome. It's the greatest book of all times, that kind of thing. All right, let me see. Hacky says, what do you suggest after getting the CGRC? I have a CGRC. I got it back when it was called the CAP from IC Squared. And for those of you who don't know, CGRC, it stands for Certified in Governance, Risk, and Compliance, and it's from an organization called the ISC2 Squared. It's one of the premier organizations out there doing certifications. They have some of the top certifications out there, such as the CISSP, which I also have. But your question is, what do you do once you get that CGRC? Well, that certification, it focuses mostly on the NIST 800 standard, risk management framework, that's mostly used by the federal and state government in the US, but it's also used all over, just so you know. Once you know that one, another thing you should know is that once you know that one, you can very, very quickly pick up many of the other frameworks and standards. ISO 27001 won't be nothing to you. Because it lines up. It'll make sense when you start reading it. You'll be like, oh shit, that's what they mean. Of course, that lines up with this part of the NIST 800. It lines up with this. Another one's PCI DSS. Another one's HIPAA. Another one is it's the thing is, NIST 800 is so robust and so complete and so huge that if you can understand how it works, especially like the controls and how the controls map to the process of managing the frameworks, all the other frameworks start to make sense. And so you can pick them up very, very quickly. So one thing I would suggest that you do is put that on your resume, like read up on ISO 27001, read up on something like PCI DSS, just read up on it and you'll be like, I got it. I'm familiar with it. So you can put that on there that you're familiar with X, Y, and Z. Anyway, but what do you do after? So a lot of the jobs that are going to look for you are ones that are looking for people who have experience in the NIST 800 risk management framework. So you need to make sure your next step should be put that on your resume. Put on your resume how familiar you are or you experience with NIST 800 risk management framework. Put it on your resume, because now what you're looking for is to specialize in NIST 800. But don't close any doors to any of the other frameworks. Oh, like leave that door open for any kind of GRC work, if that makes sense. Like leave it open, because I've had people contact. I've been contacted by, give you an example, by pharmacy organizations, companies. They have to secure their system, so they're looking for anybody with framework um, experience, because if you know, they know if you know NIST 800, you can pick up they have one called GXP. They have their own framework. So they know if you know this one, you're gonna know ISO 27001, or you're gonna pick it up very easily. So that's what you want to do after you get that CGRC, is try to get your foot. Now, if you don't have any IT experience, I would suggest don't even look for those kinds of jobs. If you have no experience, look for any IT job in the beginning, because it's going to be more difficult for you to just right off the street come right into a CGRC job. Now, that's it. I've seen it done. Like the one dude that I interviewed a few weeks ago, named Chris from Tech Woke, the site Tech Woke. He went straight from college, getting his master's degree with little or no experience doing this, and went straight into GRC position, in which he works at right now. So it is possible. I'm just saying the most likely thing, if you have no experience, is just to go work in any IT to get your foot in the door first, and then use it as a stepping stone. Take baby steps, and those baby steps will become big steps, but it takes time. All right, let me see. I got some other questions here. I really appreciate all the questions. Let's see here. Jeremy says, how do I pay for a one-on-one membership regarding steps into entering cybersecurity? Jeremy, I'm not doing that right now. I'm pretty busy. I'm doing like, I have a full-time job. This is some side stuff I do. So I really don't have time to do one-on-ones. What I do sometimes is, because it's easy for me, is to look at people's resume. Some people send me a resume, they'll tell me the specific problem and that kind of stuff I can do. I do that for my students. Like if people sign up for my course, I feel obligated to talk to them about specific problems. But it's not necessarily a one-on-one, but that's the closest thing I'll do to a one-on-one. If somebody buys my course, and they're actually doing GRC stuff, and then they'll say, hey, Bruce, I had this specific issue, and that's not something I can like really advertise or talk about, because it's like a real issue that they're having, and they'll want my advice or my guidance on certain things. And then I was like, yeah, here, man, like here's what I would do in this situation, or give me some more details. And then they give it to me. I'll say, okay, here's what you need to do. So right now I don't have the time. My job right now, man, I'm so busy. I'm doing like all assessments and stuff, and I just don't have time to do it. So right now I'm not doing it. But if you sign up for one of my courses, I can do some one-on-one stuff if you're going through a specific GRC type issue. Let me see. Diamond Princess says, I saw the CGRC. I saw that the CGRC, it's a 2-year requirement. Can we still take it? I believe there is a way that you could still take it. Do you have any kind of experience, like IT experience? Because if you have any kind of IT experience, I think you could use that to qualify. Like if you have any kind of help desk experience, I believe you could use that to qualify. And let me make sure I'm not lying to you, because the thing is, a lot of people don't understand, that miss out on these opportunities, is that they're thinking, well, I've been help desk for some time, but they don't realize that if you're help desk, you've been doing cybersecurity stuff. You've been doing a lot of cybersecurity stuff. You just got to pay attention to it. And I think that if somebody vouches for you, like one of your coworkers or your supervisor, I think that CGRC, I think they can sign for you to get to sit for the test, and you can be an associate. But I'm going to the actual site here. Let me show you what I'm seeing here. Show you what I'm seeing here, and we can figure this out together. I'm on the site right now, and let's see, what are the requirements for this certification? Let's go to certifications. I'm on the ISC2 squared site right now. CGRC, governance, risk, and compliance certification. And what you need to do right now, Diamond, is start annotating some of the cybersecurity best practices that you're already doing in your job. I can see that you said that you've been in help desk for 6 months. So right now, what I would advise you to do is anything you do for cybersecurity, take note of it, put it on your resume. Because believe it or not, you're doing a lot of cybersecurity stuff in your position. And if you want to know what I mean by that, is if you've ever written anything for your help at your help desk job, anything, if you've written anything at all, if you've written any kind of procedures, and you know what, the thing is, you're going to get voluntold to do some of this stuff, or sometimes you can volunteer yourself to do work instructions for your organization, to do help with policy, to review policies, to help with procedures, and any kind of documentation that you do. You need to put that on your resume and get the experience in writing, because a lot of GRC work is writing. Experience is what you want to get, and right now you're perfectly positioned to get something better than a certification, which is experience. But you just got to know what to put on there. So that's one thing, writing, right? Communication, writing. Um, Another big one is learning frameworks. So if you don't know what I mean by that, whenever you guys have meetings about the security policy, anything related to the security policy, and the reason why I bring that up is because the security policy is based off of frameworks. So your organization might be using something called CIS control family, or it could be using NIST 800, or it could be using ISO 27001, or it could be using PCI compliance. Any of these types of things, the policy will actually reference them. And so you want to go back and read those things and be very familiar with those laws and regulations and those frameworks and standards. And the more that you can put that stuff on your resume, the better it's going to help you out. Okay, so here we are to answer your question. It says 2 years required work experience. Okay, so work experience in what would be the next question right here? Let's see. I guess they're talking about in one of these domains. That's normally what they mean. What they mean is you need 2 years of experience in one of these domains right here. And so the CGRC has these domains, which if you happen to be listening to me on the podcast, it's domain 1, Information Security Risk Management Program. Domain 2, scope of the information system. Domain 3, selection and approval of the security and privacy controls. Domain 4, implementation of security and privacy controls, which you might actually have experience with this one. Domain 5, asset audit of security and privacy controls. Domain 6, authorization approval of and authorization and approval of the information system. And then domain 7, continuous monitoring. So what this was referring to, Diamond, is something called the NIST 800. This is line by line the NIST 800 risk management framework. May I ask what industry you're in? Because that will be very telling on whether you even want this particular certification. Because while you're answering that question, let me show you something real quick. So what this thing is referring to is something called it's called the NIST 800 RMF, and it's lining up perfectly. This will look very familiar to what we just read with this right here. This little wheel right here breaks down all of the steps that go into the risk management framework. The CGRC, I don't know that they should have named the CGRC because it's it's kind of deceptive, because it only focuses on the NIST 800, but it kind of, the name of it suggests that it's for all GRC, and it's just not. It's really referring to the NIST 837 and the NIST 853, and which you're seeing on my screen right here. And you can see that this thing breaks it down into these 7 categories. You're gonna categorize the system, meaning give it a certain level of security. You're going to select the controls. Remember back here, it said selecting controls and all that kind of stuff. Select control, privacy controls or security controls, and then implement controls, assess controls, authorize systems, and then monitor controls or continuous monitoring. So it's specifically for NIST 800, which is used mostly by the government. And that's why I say it's a bit deceptive, because GRC actually refers to many different aspects and many different industries, which all have different frameworks and different standards and stuff like that. And you said, I'm at the help desk doing for a sales company, and I got this job to move into GRC. Oh, that's a really smart move. And I just took what I could. My bachelor's isn't tech related. Oh man, that's brilliant. Oh, that is really, really smart, man. For you guys that are trying to diamond, like so many people are trying to get in this field, and one of the things because it makes money. I mean, even if you lose the job, you can just transfer to another one. And I mean, there's so many different. It's so stable. I've been doing this a long time, and GRC is not super technical. But you can go in the technical route if you want to. You can go into the management route if you want to. You can just kind of, it's a really good position to be in. And so I can see why people want it. But a lot of people come to me and they say, oh, Bruce, I want to get in this field, and they can't get their foot in the door. You have your foot in the door. So what you need to do right now is this GRC right now, I would say don't worry about this one. What you probably want to do is get the Security Plus. And as you're getting the Security Plus, this will make more sense to you. Let me just tell you what's up, okay? So number one, the Security Plus is more marketable than the CGRC. I'm not telling you if you want to get the CGRC, by all means, go for it. But let me just tell you, the Security Plus is way more marketable for you. And right now, you're positioning yourself to do to make a crazy awesome move where you're going to increase your income eventually twice as much as what you make now, or 3 times as much. I'm not exaggerating, because that's what I did. But in the very beginning, it's at least going to go up 20%. But what you want to do is focus on what to get on your resume. So let me show you where you really need to focus your time. Number one, let me show you what's up. I'm going to go to Indeed real quick, and I want to show you the difference between a CGRC certification and a Security Plus certification. And I'm just going to show you. I'm just going to show you what's up right here. So here I am on Indeed, and why I'm here is I want to show you the numbers. So let's start off with CGRC, which is a great certification, but it's very focused, and not many people know what it is just yet. CGRC. Let's just type in CGRC. And actually, they just recently changed the name, so probably a better way to search for it would be the CAP. But right now, it's saying security 75 plus jobs, right, for CGR. All it is, type in CGRC. Let me show you what I mean here. This is security risk analyst, and they're looking for, should be CGRC here, somewhere on here. All right, if I can just bear with me here, I'll show you my screen. You can see the CGRC. It looks like they're looking for, yeah, so they're looking for policy, procedures, and then they mentioned CGRC here. Look at that. They're looking for somebody with a CGRC, which is great, right? But keep in mind, I did not put a location here. Let me see if there's no location here, but this thing is looking worldwide, 75 plus job. That's not a lot, right? I'm not saying it's not a marketable certification, because you go on other sites, and some people are still calling it the CAP. That's the former name of it. Now, let me show you this, Security Plus. Let's look for a Security Plus certification, and let me show you the difference. Whoops, I just put a 4 in there for some reason. My bad. Let's just look. Security Plus. Okay, now look at this. 21,000 jobs. That means 21,000 organizations. Now, some of these are false positives. security guard. So let's get it a little bit more tuned in, because I just put security and it deleted my plus in there. Okay, so let's be fair. Let's get this accurate. Security plus. Let's see if it'll find security plus, just security plus jobs. And it looks like it's not looking for that. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right, still not. This is still giving me a bunch of false positives. So let me type in CompTIA. I've done this before and it didn't do this. CompTIA security. Let me see if that'll be a better search. Okay, this looks more like it. 3,000 jobs. So what this means here, what this number means, and it's arbitrary, but I want to give you an idea of how many organizations are looking for a security plus. It's just way more marketable. Now, granted, it's, these jobs are only paying, this one right here, IT network instructor, is paying $48,000 a year. And that's not a lot. It's in Texas though, so that's not bad for Texas. This one is a remote job paying $100,000 to $121,000, $120,000 information security analyst, right? IT operator is making from 80 to 100. This isn't bad, right? This is security plus. You can see the range of it, and more people are looking for security plus than they are CGRC. I'm not saying this is, I have a CGRC. I have a CGRC. It's a great certification for somebody who's already is in the government and wants to do risk management framework. It's very specific. Risk management framework, doing NIST 800, NIST 37, NIST 53. It tells the employers that you are Department of Defense or federal government, or choose your 3-letter federal organization, including military. You're ready for that work right there. But if you want to really expand your GRC, your governance, risk, and compliance base, and get more offers, don't just look at CGRC certification, because it focuses mostly on government. Remember this: CGRC, I mean governance, risk, and compliance is not just federal government. It's banking, it's retail, it's healthcare. It's all industries have some sort of governance, risk, and compliance, but they all use different frameworks. Different frameworks mean and standards. What that means is, I'll give you specific examples. So it's not nebulous, right? I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. So here I am. I'm going to go back on Google. Let me show you. So here's one for retail. It's called PCI DSS. I'm going to show you a few frameworks, and then what I'll do is I'm going to zoom out and tell you exactly what you need to be focused on right now as a help desk person. So PCI DSS, what is this? It is the Security Standards Council, and it's to protect your credit card. Whenever you go to Target or Walmart or wherever, they're using PCI DSS to protect your credit card information. Your credit card information, my credit card information, they have to be PCI DSS compliant in order to do that. And so they need a GRC person to know this standard and know how to protect their organization. Okay, so that's one. Now here's another one called Sarbanes-Oxley. And this comes from a federal act from the US government that was passed a few years back to protect big financial institutions. And this also has like a framework, a breakdown of what organizations who do big finance should be doing. It's not just IT, by the way. It covers a bunch of other stuff, financial auditing and all kinds of other things going to Sarbanes-Oxley. So I'm trying to find like a breakdown of it. Not important. All you need to know right now is that it is a framework that uses some sort of governance, risk, and compliance. Here's another one, the NIST 800. This is the one I'm very, very familiar with, that I use all the time. So NIST 800 protects federal organizations, state organizations, to protect their information. And then there's many other ones. There's CSF, Cybersecurity Framework. They've got ones in different countries, you name it. The name of the game is governance, risk, and compliance. Now, what is that? What does that mean? What does that mean? So the governance side of it is managing information technology. It's not just managing the technology, it's managing the people, making sure that the people, the processes are protected in an organization. That's governance. Think management. Whenever you think governance, think management and leadership, making sure the security in an organization is being done properly. The R is for risk. Risk is the people doing the assessments, running the scans, looking at making sure everything is good to go, making sure that if we put a security control in place that is properly put in place, that's risk portion. That's where you're getting really in the weeds. This can be very, very technical. It's actually pretty fun to do, and it can get into pen testing and all kinds of other things with the risk portion of the GRC. And then you have the compliance, the C. The C stands for compliance. So compliance, what is that? That's making sure that if you're in retail, Walmart is in compliance with PCI DSS. If you're in big finance, if you're doing publicly traded financial institutions who are doing 401ks or something for people, they are doing Sarbanes-Oxley appropriately. If you're in the government, you get the idea. They're in compliance with certain regulations and laws that are in place. Where do you fit in right now? What do you need to focus on right now? Let me show you. So if you're following along with me, you can type in, go to Google or Bing or wherever, and type in CIS V8. This is another set of security controls. Let me show you my screen here. This is another set of security controls that are going to be a great guidance for you. Many different organizations use this as a guide to get their security right. This is basically best security practices. And if you're on the help desk, you're doing one of these things. You're doing one or some of these things, guaranteed. These are all security things that you need to start putting on your resume. And I'll just go through a few of them. Let's start from the top here. Inventory, and some of these won't sound like security. They won't sound like, but mark my words, if the organization doesn't do these things, they will be hacked. And a lot of these things, when you hear about people getting hacked and stuff like that, it's because they're not doing one of these things. It's as simple as that. They're not doing one of these things, and something falls off the cart, and suddenly they have a gaping hole that allows people to come in or come out. And let me just go over a few of them and very briefly explain these. So inventory, the first couple of these, control 1 and 2 of these best security practices from the CIS V8, which are contained in PCI DSS, covers these things, NIST 800, HIPAA, all of them have something like this best security controls. I went to this one because it just very clearly breaks it out. So these first two controls here, control 1 and control 2 of the CIS V8, are covering inventory. What does that mean? That's like baseline. As an organization, what things do we have on our network? You might not think about it very often. It's kind of in the background, but this is extremely important. If an organization does not know what their security configuration, what they have on their network, then it's very, very hard to secure it. It's like trying to secure water because this is all over the place. The organization needs to know exactly what's in their inventory. What is their software? What is their hardware? And this is the same whether I've worked in the private sector or the public sector or wherever. They have to know what's on their network. They have to know what they're protecting. And that's where inventory and control of enterprise assets comes in. And that's the hardware and the software, by the way. So let's keep it going here. If you look at 3 and 4 here on this list, it's talking about data protection, control 3, and 4, secure configuration of enterprise assets and software. What does that mean? So it's now we know what we have on our network. We already know what our hardware and our software is. The next thing is, how do we secure that information? What do we need to protect, and how are we protecting it? That's where control 3 and 4 come in. So if you've ever, let's stop right there. If you have ever been a part of doing asset inventory or finding some computer that's lost, and I know you've done some of this before. If you haven't already, you will. So at some point, you guys will be like, damn, where's this laptop at, man? Where is this thing at? Like, this thing should have been on this inventory. It should have been this, should have been here. Or somebody ran a scan and you see in this rogue IP address, and you're like, where is this? What is this thing? It's not a printer, it's not a server. What is this IP address? That's part of knowing what's what's on your network, what is going on. So these are the kinds of things that you need to focus on as you're on the help desk. It's going to make more sense as we get into this. All right, it's going to make more sense. But right now, you need to be focusing on getting this kind of security stuff on your resume. A lot of the people will send me their resume, and what I'll notice is that they're not. If you're trying to get into GRC, information security, cybersecurity, you have to put the security stuff. You've got to advertise all the security things that you have done. But a lot of times, people will send me their resume, and the first thing I notice is that, okay, they have set up 100 laptops. They help to migrate this server to this place over here, you know, whatever. But they're not putting the security features on there. They don't even know what security things that they have done. This list right here that I'm pointing out to you is pointing out the best security practices that you should have on your resume. And this is one thing that I kind of accidentally did right. And this is why I always have a job, because it's one thing I did correctly on my resume, my shitty resume. But let me show you more stuff here. Let me just kind of go through these, and it should start to click like, oh yeah, Bruce, I've done that before. I know what you're talking about. I didn't know that they called it that, but I've done that before. That's the kind of thing I'm trying to click for you guys who are trying to get into cybersecurity. All right, so let's go through a couple other things. We talked about data protection. We talked about securing configuration of assets. That's like putting in updating the security patches. You've done that before, right? I mean, that's one of the main things you do as a help desk person. You guys go out there, touch a system, and put the security patches on a computer. That is secure configuration of enterprise assets. That's what you've done. You got to put that on your resume, though. Okay, Control 5, Control 6, all the way through. Let's go through Control 5 and 6. Okay, that's account management and access control management. What is that? That's if you've ever set up accounts. If you have set up accounts for an organization, if you've set up the auditing, the authorization, that's the password, the multi-factor authentication. If something's gone wrong with it, if you installed that, those are things you want to put on your resume. Not only what you've done, but the actual technology that you've used to manage the accounts and the access controls. Those are the things you want to put on your resume. Not just firewalls, but what about host-based protection? That's like the actual software that's protecting the host that's on the computer. So continuous vulnerability management. So a lot of times us as help desk people, we're doing this stuff all the time, but we don't know what it's called. And this right here is introducing you to a bunch of keywords that employers are looking for. They're looking for people who know what vulnerability management is. And that's anytime you've had a vulnerability on your network, a system that has a weakness. If you had, I don't know if you guys remember the Log4j weakness that was out there on your networks, or if you had an old version of Microsoft, you had Windows 8 on your network or something like that. There's a bunch of vulnerabilities there, and we have to update it. So if you've been involved with the process of updating those patches, those security patches, or updating systems and altogether, or operating systems or whatever, you're part of continuous vulnerability management. What do they mean by that? That means that your organization is continuously looking for vulnerabilities or weaknesses on your network, and then you're going out and fixing them. You're managing them by either remediating them, fixing them, or mitigating them. You couldn't fix it, but you put something in place that minimized the weakness, or you removed it from the environment, or sometimes you even just document it. You say, okay, we know what this is. We're going to take this as a hit, but here's what we're doing in the meantime. We're going to document this thing, or we're going to fix it later. A plan of action. We have a plan of action to fix this thing later. If you are involved with any of these things in this process, any of these things are going to help you out. And a couple other ones. And let me see. Audit log management. That's turning on the event logs, managing the event logs on the system. Email and web browser protections, malware defenses, that's antivirus. Data recovery, that's also a cybersecurity best practice. Network infrastructure management, network monitoring and defense, security awareness and skill training. If you've ever taught a class, or if you ever had to sit down with a user and tell them what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do, that is part of security awareness and skills training. Service provider management, application software security, incident response. Your system had a breach. You guys had to jump in the meeting and figure out what we're going to do to eradicate that particular event. Pen testing, that's the one obviously everybody knows, is like you're doing helping to the organization to hack your own network to see where you can fix certain things. All of these things qualify as security best practices. Where does this come in for GRC? So whenever you go for a GRC job, the whole thing is about protecting our network. So these controls that I just read to you are the bread and butter of what we do. Whether you're in the governance side and you're doing the management, you need to know these controls. If you're in the risk side, you definitely need to know the controls. And if you're in the compliance side, you have to have the controls to have compliance. That's the whole thing, is about controls. It's the meat of this thing. It's the controls is, if you can show that you have put controls in place, that you've helped manage the controls, if you understand what's going on in controls, GRC is going to come so much easier. And I'm not talking about just federal GRC. I'm talking about banking GRC. I'm talking about healthcare GRC. It's all going to make more sense, because the whole thing is about three things: protecting the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability of the information of every industry. Once you understand that, you can do whatever job you want. It's going to take time, but you can get there. So kudos to you, Diamond. You're on the right track. You're doing the right thing. Get a security plus. GRC can come later. The CGRC can come later. Security plus is what you want. It's way more marketable. Focus on security controls and put that shit on your resume too. All right, I got a lot of questions here. Let me see. Leighton says, second question: how does knowing the NIST 800 help GRC people with their daily jobs? So it depends on what job you're doing in GRC, because some GRC jobs don't actually use the NIST 800. So give you an example, like people in retail hotel restaurant management, they're not using NIST 800 for sure. they're using PCI DSS. They might use NIST cybersecurity framework, but unless they're on a military base or something, they're not using NIST 800. So there's many different aspects of CGRC. Now, if you're talking about actual government workers or state workers or organizations that are using the NIST 800, how do they use CGRC? How they use GRC, governance, risk, and compliance? Well, the NIST 800 guides you through how to do GRC. It's essentially a guide to tell you exactly how to do GRC. The NIST, let me see if I can show you like a diagram, and I can walk you through, like very quickly walk you through like what I mean by that. So in the diagram of NIST 800, let me see if I can bring it up here. Okay, yeah, actually I have something that might be better. All right, so this is coming from the NIST 800, NIST.gov, and it just breaks down all the steps of risk management framework: the prepare, the categorize, select, implement, assess, authorize, and monitor. This right here is the entire GRC process for the government. There's a lot of things that are happening in this. A lot of things are happening here, but I can very quickly give you a bird's eye view of what we're talking about here. Prepare. Let's start with that one. So the first step of the NIST 837 is to prepare. What do I mean by that? So the person who is doing the GRC, they usually call it Information System Security Officer, they are reaching out to all the stakeholders, all the people who have some kind of relevance in a particular system. They're reaching out and saying, "Hey guys, we've got this. We have this new system. We have this new system that's coming online, and I need to gather all of the documentation to get this thing ready." For example, so they might have to grab the proposed network scheme. They might have to grab the firewall guide and say, okay, what ports do we need open on the firewall? Where will it fit in the network? They're going to grab all these players, the A team that's going to come together and form this system. That's the prepare stage, making sure we have a list of everybody and everybody's on the same page. A lot of meetings and stuff like that. And if it's for a system that already exists, then you still need the A team. You still need all the people to come together and say, okay, what are we adding to the system? Is there any changes on the system? The network's subject matter experts going to know the network piece. The firewall guys going to know the firewall piece. So then we move on to prepare. So this is all GRC. You need managers. You need people to do the assessment. You need compliance guys. You need everybody to come together to be on the same page with the prepare step. Now, categorization is categorizing the security level of the system. This is super important because if it's a high level of security, a high impact system, meaning it's a classified system or something like that, and somebody knocked this thing down, that means a lot of things are at stake, right? That means if you might have a system so important that if it goes down for 1 second, people are going to die. You're going to lose millions of dollars. Something bad's going to happen. But then you have the other side of the spectrum where it's just a website. It's an important system, but it's not super important. If it goes down, it can stay down for a few days. It's just a website. We're just putting out information. The most important thing is that the information is there, available, and that it's accurate. So it can be down for a few days. Nobody's going to die. It's just telling people what our organization does. So that's where the categorization comes in. We're categorizing what level the system's at. Selection, that is the controls. What controls do we have to have for the system? So if it's a high level of impact system, like system goes down for a second, somebody's going to die, it's going to have way more controls than that website that just needs to have accurate information. Controls means like how much do we lock the system down? How many barriers of entry for that system? And then we have implementing the controls. Now we know what list of controls to put, and we know how important the system is. Now we have to implement it. This is probably the longest period of time because we have to get the team together, get all the appropriate people, and start to actually install patches or put systems together or make the network work properly, make sure it works as it was designed and has security in place. Then we go to the next one, which is assessing. This is where the R in GRC comes in because we're going to run scans. We're going to make sure that, okay, it works properly, but are the controls in place? Is it secure? And we're going to determine the risk of the system. And then we have authorization. This is where the G in the GRC comes in because the governance is the management, like the authorizing authority, the actual heads of this agency, the people who run the show, the CIOs, the people who are taking the risk, people who are signing the form saying, yep, this is good to go. They have to see the risk that they're taking on. And this is where they review all of the risk documents that came from the assessment, any documentation that came from the implementation, any documentation that came from the categorization. They're taking all that in and saying, okay, do I want to take the risk for this system? Does it do what we designed this thing to do? Is it meeting the mission and the business properly? And if it does, then the authorized stage is for us to sign off on it. That's G, that's the R, and that's the C. Another one is the final thing you're going to do is monitor. This is continuous. This not just like one-time thing. It's always going on. So it's like a cycle because you're always doing this. If something major happens, we might have to start all over again and recategorize the system, which means we have to select new controls, which means we have to implement new security features in there. So this process is literally the GRC for the federal government or whoever uses the NIST 800. All right, let me see if I have any other questions on TikTok. Let's go to TikTok here. Whoa, got a few things coming up here, and I apologize if I'm missing here. There's so much stuff on questions that have been asked since I've been talking that I might have missed some. If you guys are watching me, if you're coming in late, I have a free book, but it's free for a limited amount of time. I'm looking for reviews. If you're interested in that, please go to that link in bio, link in profile, and check that book out. Leave me some stars. Your review is better than money. Okay. Aki says, what do you suggest after getting? Okay, I already read that one. Let me see here. Going through some TikTok questions. Where can I find a book? How long does it take? How long does a security clearance take? Is there a way to speed up the process? No, there's not a way to speed it up. Depends on the clearance. So just so you know, not every job needs a clearance. Not every security job needs a clearance. A background check is not a clearance. Just because they're doing a background check doesn't mean it's a clearance. So it's two different things. Background check, it depends on the background check and the organization you're working for. The longest I've had a background check for is like, I don't know, 6 months. I mean, the current job I'm at took literally like 6 to 8 months to get the background check done. It's not even a clearance. It's a public trust, which is not officially a clearance. But it took a long ass time. I'm like, wow, what the hell? I've had clearances before, and they usually take an average of about 3 months. They usually average about 3 months for security, secret or top secret clearance. But I don't know. These days, maybe it's different. That was a long time ago. So if I had to give you a specific time frame, I'd say about 3 months. It can take less, it can take more than that. And it is a pain in the ass because it can hold up opportunities and stuff. I don't know what to say. I wish the government would speed that up, but it seems like they're going a lot slower with that process. And it might be because they're scaling back on certain organizations. Sucks. Hey, Bruce, any thoughts on getting certified in the NIST? I talked a lot about this. This is certified in the NIST would be the best certification for the NIST. For the NIST would be the CGRC, which is the one. I'm not sure everybody asked me about this particular certification right now. Maybe I must have put it somewhere. I would say if you're in the government, you happen to be a help desk for a government, and you're trying to stay in the government and do GRC work, then yes, it will be helpful to get it. If that's the route you want to go to and you're already in the government, or you're trying to get into government work, either as a contractor or a GS person, then CGRC would be a good way to go. Now, if you're just trying to do any kind of GRC, not just NIST, because there's other GRC frameworks and standards, then you don't need the NIST. You don't necessarily need the NIST. If you do get it, I will say this: it's robust enough that after you get that cert, after you study for it or whatever, it'll be easier for you to understand things like ISO 27001. It'll be easier for you to understand that one. It'll be easier for you to understand PCI DSS. It'll be easier to understand these other standards and frameworks. It'll just make more sense, especially if you've been through the process. It'll make more sense. The most important thing is not the certification, it's the experience. So if you happen to get that experience through being in the help desk, or you get it through being a network engineer, or wherever you get it from, your exposure to cybersecurity in general is the most important foundational thing that you can do for your career. because there's many other paths other than GRC. There's many other paths other than just doing information security. If you know the foundations, if you know the controls, there's a whole bunch of other paths you can take. If you've done them, most importantly, it's going to open up a lot of doors for you. Let me see here. Any suggestions on part-time? Any suggestions for part-time beginning jobs? Part-time beginning jobs. For IT, part-time beginning jobs. Probably data entry would probably you could do that from home. I've not done it before. It looks very intriguing. I haven't looked into it. The stuff that I keep seeing stuff about entry level data entry jobs. It sounds like that would be something that you could do as a side gig for IT. I would look into that. I would definitely look into that. That looks promising. The reason why I say that is because there's been a lot of jobs I've had where it would have been very, very helpful for us to have somebody just putting in data. And from what I'm seeing, a lot of organizations are doing that, and they're reaching out to people to do part-time work. Well, they don't pay a lot, they're paying like $20 an hour or something like that. And it's going to be very busy, mundane, like tiring, just grind work. But I can see that being like a legit place to get a part-time job, because it's boring. Nobody wants to do it, but they're going to pay the shit out of you. So if I were you, that's what you're looking for. Look into data entry jobs. Let me see here. Other questions. Do you think you will start your own training classes? So I do have the closest I've gotten to something like that would be if you go to ConvoCourses.com, I have a course that talks about NIST 800. I just know it really well, and people kept asking me about it and asking me the same question over and over and over and over and over and over again. I just did a whole course on it. I was like, okay, fuck it. I'm gonna put everything I know into this course for beginners. And I put everything I know. And then the books, like some of the stuff I sell on Amazon, I put it into the course. It's a video, me talking like this. If you want to do GRC, especially NIST 800, I'm telling you not just like the philosophy behind it, but I'm telling you how to do it. So that's the closest thing I have to a training class. I used to teach this stuff for organizations, for companies, and I used to teach certifications and actual NIST 800 and GRC stuff for a company, where I would go out and then teach in different places. And I did that for like a year, and it was all right. It was cool. It was a lot of travel though, but it was cool. But I put all that stuff that I learned over the years, and I condensed it into like, it's a pretty long course, because what I'll do is I'll just add more stuff in it. Like if things change or something needs to be added to it, I'll just add more. So it's actually it's probably like 20 hours worth of material now. It's a lot. There's a lot of stuff, and people seem to like it. I keep getting kudos about it, so that's good. I do want to update it soon, but it's evergreen. I mean, that stuff is still good to go, because it's talking about the NIST 800 risk management framework. So that's the closest thing I have to a training class. If you happen to be in the government doing information system security officer work, it's a great class. So go ahead and check that out, ConvoCourses.com. All right, let me see here. More questions. Security Plus 701 good. Yes, that's the one. So if you're going for the CompTIA, right now they're up to 701. So that's the one you would want to do. Let me see. Seeking transition from PC maintenance to AI cybersecurity within 15 years, with 15 years of experience. Insert A+, Security Plus, planning optimal transition strategy. So what would I do given the same situation? So I talked about it earlier. If you happen to be watching me, what they're really looking for. I can't speak on AI. That's not my specialty. I'm learning that stuff myself. Like I can't speak on that. Like as far as getting a career path, the best thing I could do would be to interview somebody who does machine learning or AI or something. I don't do that. I don't have that title. Do I know? I'm messing around with it. I'm learning just like you guys are. But cybersecurity, I can speak on that. So cybersecurity tech recruiters are looking right now for people who have exposure to best security practices. And so when you, as a PC maintenance person, at some point you've updated patches before. You've removed viruses probably. You've turned on. You've had to create accounts, secure accounts. You maybe had to put. You've had to do certain things to secure a system. Those things that you've done in your 15 years needs to go on your resume. That stuff needs to go on your resume. Um, that's what would be my advice to you. All the stuff you've done in your 15 years as a PC maintenance person, focus on all the security stuff and make sure it's in your resume. If it's in your resume, they will find you. And if you want to know what kinds of things they're looking for, go to Google, type in CIS space V8, and that'll have a breakdown of the control families that you need to look at. Go to Google or Bing or whatever search engine, type in CIS space V8 and look at the pictures. Look at images. The images you're gonna see a breakdown of all of the controls that you need to have on your resume. It's going to be things like, have you ever taken an inventory before? Have you ever done event logs? Have you ever set up an account before? It'll be things that you've done before, and you're like, this is security stuff? I thought it was just fucking hacking and shit. It's not just hacking and shit. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes into it that is not talked about. It's not in Hollywood. It's not advertised. Not sexy. It's people like bald ass old dudes like myself are talking about. And I'm trying to school you on what actual cybersecurity is. That's not fucking hacking. And that's one aspect of it. Pen testing is one very important aspect of it, but it's not everything, right? It's all the stuff we do to secure your information when you go to Walmart. When you put your card in, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about where your data is going, right? If organizations are doing what they're supposed to do, all this boring shit that I'm talking about, they're doing audit logs in the back end. They have somebody monitoring it. They have all the documentation. They have people they can trust doing the work. They have training for all the employees who are managing all the stuff. If all that stuff is happening, working, you don't have to worry about where your data is going when you go to the hospital, when you go to run your credit card, when you go to the bank. That's the stuff I'm talking about. The actual shit that's protecting you. That is cybersecurity. Pen testing is one tiny drop in that bucket. The most important stuff is the boring shit that an average ass guy like myself is talking about. And that's the stuff they pay the hell out of you for, by the way. Let me see. Got the #1 gifter badge. Thanks for those gifts, guys. I appreciate that. On TikTok. Bruce, which book is free? So right now it's a bundle. It's a 2-book bundle, and it's dealing with cybersecurity law and FISMA. I know. You're like, what the fuck is FISMA? Like, what are you talking about? I don't want to read that. Listen, I'm talking to people who want to get paid. So if you want to get paid, that's the kind of stuff that you're going to read. See this book right here? This one is popped up on my head. It's one of these. It's 2 books in one. Okay, so it's cyber and FISMA compliance, and it's talking about different cybersecurity laws, and it's broken down in a way that's plain English. You can understand it. It's going to break it down in a way you can understand it. That book right now for the next couple of days is free, and I do this because I need reviews. Your reviews are better than money. So I give the book away for free so people can check it out. You know, some people did download it, read it, and like, okay, that's cool. Some people like will get it, read it, give me a review, thumbs up, whatever, and then those reviews, man, it really helps. Even just the star reviews are cool. But that's why I give it away for free. It's talking about the cybersecurity laws that are important, and you as a cybersecurity person, what's really important about it. And you happen to be the federal government. There's another book in there that's breaking down the law called the Federal Information Security Modernization Act. Breaks it down in plain English and things that are going to be relevant to you. So that's what the book is. I got more books coming that'll be a little bit more. Law is not an easy read. It's not fun. It's just it wasn't fun to write. So if you're if you're interested in that and at least helping me out, then I really appreciate that. And thank you guys for your support. You know, even if you don't get this book, I really appreciate people who watch or or whatever. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Miss T says, "Where is it at?" If you want that book for free, just go and link it. If you're on TikTok, go to the bio, the thing right there. It's ConvoCourses.net. It's going to take you to a Linktree site. That top one is going to have a link going to Amazon. It's free on Amazon. So it's a KDP book right now. So I'm going to sell it it has a paperback version and it has a hardback version, and it's going to have an audio version as well. If you don't want to wait for the audio version, actually you can still get it. It's a 2-in-1 book. So right now that book is out. So the audio book, it consists of the FISMA book, and it consists of the cybersecurity and privacy law book. Breaks it down in plain English, simplifies it, gets straight to the point of what you need to know as a cybersecurity person. Okay, let's see. Hey Bruce, what are the tips for SM1 prepping for the CASP Plus? I don't have a CASP Plus. I have a few friends who have it. I heard it was pretty hard. It's pretty difficult. So I wouldn't know like where to send you to learn that one. I do know that I see CompTIA, who does the CASP Plus, they'll usually have some resources that they recommend. I mean, one place that you can go is books. Like you can get a book for like 20, 30 bucks and go through that one. I mean, that'd be the obvious choice, right? But if you do go for a certification book, just get one that has a lot of questions in it. Get one that has a lot of Q&A in it, because that's going to prep you for actually training for the test. Another place you can go, just off the top of my head, is you can use ChatGPT. ChatGPT is really great at creating questions. So if you happen to be, let me give you a demonstration. If you happen to be watching me on YouTube, you're in luck, because I'm about to walk you through how to do this real quick. Take me a couple minutes. All right, so here I am on ChatGPT. You can do this. I think you could probably do this on the unpaid version that's free, the GPT 3.5. I happen to have the 4.0, 4.0, whatever it's called. So let me show you how you can do this. I did this before, like last week. Okay, here we go. Let me see if I can give you the prompt for this. You go there to ChatGPT, and the prompt is something like, let me see if I can get my old prompt here. No, okay, let's see. You do this. You say, create a CASP Plus test. And then we're going to say multiple choice, and don't give me, wait, no. Let's say multiple choice, give me, allow me, okay, let's say allow me to answer the question before going to the next. Let's make it a 3-question test. And score it at the end. Okay, so I'm on. You can do this with other large language models as well. You can do it with Gemini from Google. You can do it with Anthropic has one called Claude 3, and then I don't know if Perplexity will do it, but these top 3 ones, ChatGPT, Claude 3, and Gemini will do it. I've messed around with them. The best one, in my opinion, so far is ChatGPT. It's well done. But Gemini comes pretty close. All right, so what I did was I typed in a prompt. As it says, create a CASP plus test, multiple choice. Allow me to answer the question before going to the next. And it says 3-question test, score at the end. Spell end right. Now, here we go. So it's gonna give me, it says, let's get started, and then it's CASP plus, okay, and then it has the question 1. It stops at question 1. You happen to be listening to me or watching on TikTok. It says, which of the following is an example of a security control that can be classified as both preventative and corrective? And it gives me the choice between A, an intrusion detection system, B, firewall, C, antivirus software, or D, a security policy. And let's just say, let's just put in anything. Let's just put in, it's a security control that is classified as both preventative and corrective. I could be any of these, I think, because what if the corrective is that you have to have a firewall, or preventative is also firewall. So it could be, but let's just say D. I don't know. I don't know the answer to this one. And it says, thank you. Let's move on to the next question. It doesn't give me the answer to it. All right. That's probably wrong. Okay. So the next one is question 2 says, what is the primary purpose of implementing a security information and event manager system? Okay. It says A, to encrypt sensitive data. No, that's not it. B, to monitor and analyze this security event in real time. Yes, that's the answer. And then it has C and D. So let's just type in the right one, which is B. Whoops, I typed in D. B, and submit the answer. And it says, thank you. We'll proceed to the next one. This should be the last question. The last question says, which of the following best describes the concept of defense in depth? Okay, this is multi-levels of security. That's what it is. It says A, implement multiple layers of security controls to protect against threats. That's the answer right there. B, rely on a single or strong. Nope, you're not going to rely on any one thing for defense in depth. C, outsourcing. Nope. D, focusing on solely perimeter. No. So the answer is A. So let's go ahead and put A and submit. And this should give you a score at the end. And it says your answers are, oh, the answer for the first one was C, antivirus software. That's bullshit. I disagree. Anyway, look. So that is one way that you can use. That's another tool that you can use for training for any certification, not just the CASP plus, is by using large language models. You don't want to rely on them 100% because they're not always accurate and they'll make shit up. I've been using long enough to see like the flaws in them, and they're not always accurate. So you don't want to rely on it 100%. You want to use it as one of the tools in your toolbox. All right, let me see if I got any other questions here. I'm going to start off from the bottom on TikTok here, so I can get some. Michael says, my name is Michael. I've been trying to get a job in IT for a while. I have a certification for my computer. Okay. Michael, may I ask your background? Like, what is your profession? Are you currently a help desk person? Do you fix computers? Are you PC maintenance? What is your background? if you don't mind me asking, because that's going to factor into jobs. So a lot of these organizations are looking for people who can hit the ground running. They want experience over certification. Electrician. So that's actually a pretty good start, because that means that you'll be able to pick this stuff up really, really fast. Do you have any IT experience? Have you ever, in your electrician shop, are you the guy setting up the local area network? Are you the guy setting up the Wi-Fi or anything like that? I'm gonna ask, why would you want to transfer from being an electrician to being an IT? Electricians can make pretty good money. Um, so you're not. So I'm assuming that you don't have IT experience. So here's how you fix that. In your, you want to get. I'm retired. Oh, okay. So this is like something you would want to do for fun and for profit, something like that. Um, Let me suggest a couple things. Michael, have you ever considered doing a YouTube video on being an electrician? Bear with me. Because one of my top performing, this is crazy, but one of my top performing videos is actually doing a very shitty job of hooking up my video camera in my house. It's got like 1 million views or something like that. And every time I do one of these videos, it just goes crazy. Because I'm walking them how to do it. So my top performing video is not an IT video. It's not me doing stuff like this. This gets very few views. What people really want to know about is how the hell I hooked up that ring on my house. Look it up. Like, look up my videos. Go to ConvoCourses on YouTube, and my top video, one of my top videos, one is like for chasing down scammers, and then another one is me hooking up a camera system on my home. And it's because people are trying to do it on their own, and they need an electrician, and me doing this shitty job as I'm literally putting wires on this thing and then setting it up. And I've got a bunch of electricians telling me I'm doing it wrong. My point is, as a retired man, you could be teaching this stuff. Just a suggestion. I mean, I'll tell you how to get into IT, but what you could probably be doing right now that might make more money would be to teach people to be electricians. Just an idea. Make a TikTok channel. Do a TikTok channel and put out stuff for free on YouTube and TikTok and teach people how to be electricians. That's it. Let me show you how to do this. Okay, if you wanted to get in IT. Certificate from my computer career. Okay, so you just want to, this is something you would want to do for fun and for profit. How could you do it? Well, like I tell most people, you would want to start from the bottom here, start from where you are. You want to get some hands-on experience, setting up networks, hands-on experience setting up networks, hands-on fixing computers, and starting to understand the difference between things like a client and a server. Set up your own home network. Mess around with your own home network. This goes for anybody who's trying to get into this. You're starting from zero, starting from a whole nother career path. There's other options, but let's say you got nothing. Like you don't have a degree, you're not in college, you're done with that life. You just want to get into this field. What most organizations are looking for is hands-on experience, like somebody who can actually get in there and hit the ground running with their skill set. You've got to get your hands dirty. Build a network is one way. Setting up Wi-Fi networks. What I used to do I thought was really fun was I would set up a virtual computer on my. There's a way to set up a fake computer on your computer. I know it sounds crazy, but it's called virtual environment. You could do this on a desktop, and you can use tools like Sandbox, VirtualBox, from I think Oracle has it for free, and another one's called VMware. My favorite, VMware. You have to pay for that one, but I think they give you like a 2-week trial or something like that. You download that, and it allows you to make like a virtual system on your computer. And what I would do is I would make these virtual networks, and then sometimes I would take a virtual system, and then we did that in class. Yeah, it's super fun. And then what I would do is I would infect that computer, that virtual system, with a virus, and I wouldn't want to see how it behaved. And sometimes what I would do is I would take a virtual computer, just connect it to the internet with no security. It would get hacked, and sometimes in a matter of hours. Something would happen to it. What I would do is I would put it on there with no security, and then start messing. I just go on the internet, just go on all these different sites, just downloading stuff, just do whatever, right? And we'd get infected within a matter of like a couple of hours of being infected. And then I'd have to remove the virus. That's how I would train myself. I would remove the virus, see what it infected, how it worked, and everything. And it was all in a virtual environment. So if it got hacked or whatever, I didn't care because it wouldn't go anywhere else but that system. It destroyed that one system. So get your hands dirty is what I'm saying. Once you learn quite a bit, there's a couple things you can do. Once you know how to build a network or remove viruses or whatever, you're proficient at it, you just really know how to do it, or build operating systems, go through and build them and stuff like that. You can do freelance work, start up a little business, like a local business of helping seniors remove malware, helping people in your family remove malware, whatever, right, for a cheap price. And just do that freelance, put yourself out there, advertise it locally, and then do it as a freelancer. You want to put that stuff on your resume. You're building up your resume is what you're doing. And then volunteer your time at places like the vet office or at old folks home or at a church or something like that. All these nonprofit organizations that are local that give you free services or a very discounted service to help them build their network, whatever, right? Get yourself out there, get your name out there, get some experience and all that kind of stuff. And now I'm not saying any of this is easy or anything, but all I'm trying to do is come up with ideas how you could build out your resume, build out your work experience, so that eventually, if you want to either keep building up your freelancer business, or use that to pivot and work for a small local company and be a field tech. You want to start off with something small, like a field tech or a help desk person, or like a cable jockey or something like that at a local Comcast or whatever, Cox or whatever company. You want exposure to their network at some point. And you're gonna have to swallow your pride, because you're gonna be dealing with a bunch of younger people. So you're gonna have to learn from these guys who've been doing it. They've been doing it 5 years, but they're only 23. You know what I mean? Like you have to work with people like that. So if you have the patience for that, then that's how you can pivot and start doing like a local job, and get your foot in the door. But there's a couple things you can do. Now, if you happen to go to college or whatever, if you have the time, money, energy to do it, you have the patience to do it, then one of the things you can do, probably the easiest institutional way to do it, would be to just go for a master's degree or bachelor's degree and start the network inside of the institution. The thing about having a master's or a bachelor's degree is it opens up doors to be an apprentice or an internship or something like that. So those are a couple different things you can do. You have an electrical engineering degree, so you don't really have to. They'll take you, once you have the experience, you can go right into a job doing IT stuff, because from what I've seen, they'll take an electrician. I've worked with a couple of guys who are electricians or have a double E. So they're usually looking for people with experience in IT, fixing computers or whatever, and have a degree in STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. You know any of one of those, then those guys tend to pick up really quickly on IT stuff. All right. I'm about to end this. I'm going to answer a few more questions. I apologize in advance for any questions I didn't answer. But there's a lot coming in, so and each one of these it takes their own time. And let me see. I'm going to kind of speed run through these. Somebody said, I just completed an EMAS training for DISA. I'm either going to complete an authorizing official for DISA next or EMAS. Awesome, that's great. When I think GRC, I think PCI DSS, SOC reports, or even GDRP. All of those qualify. All those fit into that GDRP, GRC wheelhouse. Let me see here. Never thought I'd make my resume. Never thought I'd make my resume that way. I need that idea. Somebody said, do you know of any software or online wizard that can help me writing security policies? Writer's block is annoying. Yes. It's called ChatGPT. Watch this. So policies. Watch this. I'm on ChatGPT. Write a NIST 800 security plan example. Watch this. Now, this is just going to give you an example of one. And like I said, don't rely 100% on these things. It's not always correct. Sometimes it misses things. And it's right now, it's writing an entire system security plan on ChatGPT. So this is one way to eliminate writer's block. I also have a downloadable one. I've cherry picked a bunch of sample cybersecurity plans. So if you happen to want to, if you really want one, just go to ConvoCourses.com and find my free GDR, my free NIST 800 templates from real organizations. Some of them to give you a sample of what they look like. Let's see, what else do we have? What other questions do we have here? Let me speed run through these. Somebody said, what is the name of the GRC and cybersecurity book you're offering? The name of the GRC. I've got a few different GRC cybersecurity books. The one right now that's free, you happen to be coming in late, is called Cyber and FISMA Compliance, a 2-in-1 book. And it covers cyber law, and it covers FISMA. So right now it's free to download. I'm just really looking for reviews, and so I really appreciate any help you can give me on that. David says, what tips do you have for studying the CISSP? I took the Security Plus exam, and which is about 30% of the CISSP, and also have Boson exam Cybex book. That's a great start. I mean, it's a really great start. Some other tools that you could use is ChatGPT or Gemini from Google. Those large language models are pretty good. As tools, don't rely 100% on them. That's another thing that I did was I took the Security Plus before I took the CISSP, and it was helpful, but it's the CISSP, the questions are really hard. So what you could do is find books that have those hard questions, like a huge database of questions of what you really need. You need to train your mind to go through all of those questions. The questions were the hardest part of that test. Somebody said, hey, Bruce, do you ever touch on zero trust in your GRC work? Yeah, actually, we're going through that right now. I would like to do a whole video about zero trust and what that's all about and how it touches on GRC work. But yeah, that's a great question. Yes, we do. And very recently, haven't like really nail that stuff down in my actual job. Um, forensics fundamentals. Forensics fundamentals may be a good transition from the electrical to the cybersecurity, since he brings knowledge of the electrical components work together, etc. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. I'm not sure how effective it would help you as an electrician going into forensics. Um, there might be some aspects of it that will be helpful, but I'm not sure off the top of my head where it would like really help you out, except for like doing a degausser or something like that. Yeah, I'm not sure where that would. Somebody said most of the books do not open up um, for the review or download. Oh, that's weird. So the book if you go to ConvoCourses.net, the very top one, what you're gonna have to do is go to the free book that's in KDP, and that'll you should be able to get in there. And then if you go to your digital downloads, you go to your orders, go to your digital downloads, and you'll be able to write a comment right in there. All right, let me see. More questions, more questions. I'm almost done here, guys. Been talking for about 2 hours. Somebody said, working on my CompTIA A plus and Network Plus. Any advice? Um, what I did was I took a book, I put all the most important things from that book from each one of the domains. Take each domain, break it down into notes, and then I studied my notes. That for whatever reason that method worked for me best. Another thing I would recommend is use many different methods of training. Like don't just read the book and take notes, but also watch videos. And look for a bunch of questions and keep taking questions over and over again. Any advice for getting into cybersecurity internships next week? I'm a bit nervous. So are you saying you're gonna be in an internship? You're gonna be, yeah. So my advice is if you're about to get into an internship, just be receptive to what people tell you. Be receptive, soak the information up like a sponge. Be humble, right? Be humble and be willing to learn. One of the most important factors, I think the things that helped me the most is I was always excited to learn this stuff. For me, it's been like toys. It's been fun for me to learn it. I'm always excited to learn new things. And when people are, if people are mentoring you and you show engagement, you're excited to learn and you're like really into it and you're not afraid to make mistakes, then that that's infectious. Like people want to be around that kind of energy, especially older guys, older people. Like especially they're teaching you and they see the excitement. It's almost like they get to live that excitement of being in IT for the first time through you, or being in cybersecurity for the first time through you. And when you're excited about it, when you're humble, you're willing to learn, people want you around more and they want to teach you more. And they're like, man, if you like this, check this out. And so that's any of my mentors, the stuff that I learned the most was because I had that fire in me to keep learning, and I was humble, and I wasn't afraid to like make mistakes. I was humble. Like I didn't act like I knew more than them. And sometimes I had degrees and certifications and they didn't. I wasn't like throwing that in their face. I was willing to learn. I was like, damn, this person knows 10 times more than me. And here I am with, 5 years of doing this job, and this like just learn as much as you can and be willing to listen to them. Be receptive. I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you for everybody who got the book and select the reviews. Really thankful about that, and it's really fulfilling the dream that I have of being a writer and a publisher. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all your support, and I am out of here. I will be on here next week for sure. Wait, will I be on here next week for sure? Because I'm going to be traveling here real soon. So actually, I don't know. I mean, I'll try to do my best to be on here. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm out of here. Appreciate you.